It's great to have you here. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to win versus just being good at golf. Now, I have got tons of great videos coming out for you this year, and I don't want you to miss out. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when our latest videos are released. Also, click that like button, that really helps us out, and post your comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And I had a great question from Tao Yang, so sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. It's districts/regionals and state competition around here. I'd like to know more about competitive golf and its nuances as a player and as a parent of a high school golfer. Please don't say the same old thing as going out and playing a Saturday with your friends. Don't worry, I'm not. And it will be, or it will be if you play enough times, but it's not. So basically, don't tell me that every round of golf is the same. It's not the same going out and playing with your buddies, and you should be relaxed and confident and just, you know, play like you're having a leisurely round. Well, here's the deal, and I'm gonna be very kind of open and honest with this. This is not kind of the video that I normally do. Most of the time, I'm working on you improving your skills. That way you have a chance of going out and shooting your best round. Playing the best in tournaments has more to do with taking what you already can do and performing at a higher level, being someone that's tough to beat. So if you're talking about winning a high school tournament, or if you're a parent talking to a kid, or if you're just a player out there right now that wants to win, these apply to both people. It is not a Saturday round with your buddies. It's just not going to be like that. If you're playing your club championship, if you're playing in a high school match, if you're playing any competitive round, it's not going to be the same as just going out there with your buddies. There's going to be a little bit more adrenaline, as there should be, because everything that matters should have a little bit more adrenaline. That's why you play it. That's why it's so much fun, because it does get the adrenaline going. So if we're looking to make it a Saturday round and say, oh, you know, forget about the adrenaline, we end up doing all these silly things that don't really make sense. We try to be calm when it's not really a calm situation. Now look at the pros. When pros are under the gun, when they're hitting the big putt, just look at Tiger Woods, the winningest player of all time on the PGA Tour, has won tons of majors. Look at when he's winning. He's fist pumping, he's running across the green, he's pumped up, because that's the actual emotion that he's feeling at that time. And there's nothing wrong with that, being honest and true with what we're feeling. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm a little bit nervous right now. That's why you play the game. That's why you play in tournaments, to have those nerves and to see how well you can do with those. So ignoring the nerves and trying to get rid of them is just a silly game that can never be won. Anytime you play in anything that matters enough, there's going to be some nerves. So number two is, a second part of that is trying to have fun, or the idea that playing in a tournament is going to be fun. There is a fun aspect to it. The fun is seeing what you're made of, to see how well you can do under the pressure, to see how your game is going to hold up. That's the fun part. But going out to have a very laid-back, non-competitive, fun way and expecting to play well in a tournament, it really isn't going to happen. It should be a little bit of a grind. It should be a little bit of pressure. You know, again, going back to elite level players, when Michael Jordan is in the NBA Finals and he's trying to win and he's got the flu game, everybody knows that one, right? He's not going out there thinking, oh man, this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to go out and feeling like absolute dirt and running up and down the court as hard as I can until I feel like I'm going to die. That's not the fun part. The fun part is the accomplishment. So if you're trying to make the actual event itself feel enjoyable the whole way, I think it's a little bit of missing the boat. It has to be about seeing what you have inside, seeing how deep you can go to really dig in and to focus when it matters the most. Another one, and this has to do with something I think is really being asked here, is how do we avoid choking? How do we avoid normally shooting, let's say that you're shooting in the 70s and then you blow up and you shoot in the 90s. How can you avoid that happening as you're in this pressure-filled situation? Well, there's a book on that. It's actually called Choke, and it's pretty interesting. A lot of the first couple chapters talk more about in the academic side, and then the last one talks more, or last third of the book or so talks more about sports. And what they found, the best, most indicative measurement of how well you're going to do under pressure, how likely you are to choke, is how often you put yourself under pressure. So if you're the kind of player that's always putting yourself under pressure, you're going to learn how to handle pressure, you're going to learn to enjoy pressure, you're going to learn to enjoy the challenge of it, and you're going to be up for the game. So whenever you're out there practicing, or playing with your friends. If you're looking to make it fun and laid back and you pick up the 4-footer, you get a bad lie in the fairway and you kind of fluff it up, you don't always keep score, you don't always have pressure on you, you're not going to play well when tournament time comes around. You're actually probably going to be the kind of player that's the most likely to choke. Now, if you're the kind of player that tees it up with your buddies, and it can be playing for $1, it can be playing for a Coke, if you're a high school kid, playing for a Coke, playing for the loser has to do 20 push-ups, the loser has to go run or do something that you don't want to do, then that can be a great way to add pressure and get really good at handling the tournament type pressure, even when you're just out there on a Saturday with your buddies and it doesn't technically mean anything. You have to invent ways for it to mean something. So if you're on the putting green hitting putts, it better mean something. If you're out there by yourself and you're trying to get better and you really want to hit that pressure 6-footer, you have to find a way to put that pressure on you when you practice. That's how you hold up in the tournaments. If you want to make it as simple and easy and fun as possible when you're practicing, it's going to get really hard when you get to the tournament, because it's just going to be a much different environment, a much different scenario. So that's what it's really about. If you're looking to coach a high school player, or if you're a competitive golfer yourself, you have to constantly be applying pressure to yourself all the time, every single minute of when you practice. Now, when you're practicing, you also want to keep the tournament in mind. If I'm on the driving range, I have one goal there. Either I'm going to improve my skills, and that's really what top speed golf helps the most with. We want to get you driving it 20 or 30 yards farther. We want to get your fundamentals in the top speed golf system really solid. That way when you're under pressure, your fundamentals will hold up, your swing will hold up. But if I'm working on technique, that's one thing. The other side of this is, am I preparing for a tournament? So if I grab a 7-iron, for example, and I just start hitting away at golf balls, and I just dump over a big bucket and I hit 107 irons, and then maybe I hit or 57 irons and 50 drivers or whatever, and I leave, and I wasn't really thinking about it as tournament preparation. If I'm not improving my technique and I'm not preparing for a tournament, I'm really not doing much of anything. So I like to break it up in technique side. Those are the times that you're practicing improving your fundamentals, improving your technique, and then preparation for tournaments. A lot of those would be varying up the clubs. So I grab a driver, I hit that driver, I'm visualizing the hole that I'm actually going to be playing in the tournament. I'm hitting a good one down the middle of the fairway, and then I'm thinking about what iron I would have into that green. I throw the driver in the bag, I pick up the iron that I'm going to be hitting next, I'm visualizing the actual green that I'm going to be playing into, and I'm playing into that green. Now if I practice that way, then I am more mentally prepared than my competitors, and that feels very real. When you get out to the actual tournament, it feels pretty daggone easy. You've already been through it dozens of times on the driving range. Again, when you're putting, when you're chipping, every single shot has to mean something. You have to have some pressure on it. It has to be in preparation for a tournament. And if you're not preparing for a tournament, then you're really not preparing at all if you're trying to play tournament golf. Now, that brings you to a bit of a predicament. Is it supposed to be fun to play tournament golf, or is it supposed to be competitive? Well, you can't really do both. I can't be a really high-end, elite, competitive tournament golfer and spend the majority of my time going out and having fun with my buddies and not really trying to play well in tournaments, and vice versa. I can't be the kind of really high-end competitive type person and then try to turn it off and go have fun with your buddies. It really just doesn't work. You got to pick one. Either you're a tournament golfer and your goal is to win tournaments, or you're a fun golfer and your goal is to have fun. If you're going to have fun, here's what I'd recommend you do. Go to the Top Speed Golf website, go through the 20-minute distance fix, start there, start driving it 30 yards farther. That's a heck of a lot of fun. You don't have to focus, you don't have to grind it out, you just start blasting it past your buddies. Then start working through the Top Speed Golf system and develop those really good fundamentals. That way, you're gonna hit some really good shots. Maybe you don't wanna grind out over that 4-footer, but you do wanna hit that 6-iron that gets nice and high in the air, lands on the middle of the green. Either way, those things are going to serve you well, whether you're a fun golfer or a competitive golfer. Competitive golfers should do the exact same thing. Start hitting it farther, develop those great fundamentals, but then also as you're practicing, have the tournament, have the competition in mind. Another thing here that's a really good tip, always play by the rules. If you're going to be a competitive golfer, if you're out there rolling your ball up into the fluffiest lie, if you're dropping one out of your pocket when it gets behind a tree, if you're never really keeping score the right way, you're going to struggle when it comes into tournaments. You have to prepare playing the same rules. I like to play it down, when I was playing competitive golf, play it down everywhere. If I'm in a hole, I don't care, I'm playing it out of that because I want it to feel easier when I get in the real tournament. Now, lastly here is the mentality of this. You want to look for things that are going to get you fired up. Competitive golf, tournament golf, is a little bit stressful and it can be monotonous. You're out there on the range hitting hundreds of golf balls, you're putting, you're chipping. That can be monotonous. You can really let your mind drift off to where you're not really getting much done. You have to find ways to fire yourself up. I like to use a great example of this with Tiger Woods when he won the '97 Masters. And he was talking about before he went out there, him and Colin Montgomery was in the press room saying, hey, we'll see what Tiger's made of tomorrow. We'll see what he's really made of, because nobody knew, right? He hadn't won a major before. He's got the lead. Let's see what he's really made of. Well, you could tell, reading one of Tiger's latest books that I read, that really fired him up. He did not like him saying, we'll see what he's made of. So he went out on a mission to prove Colin Montgomery wrong, to show him what he's really made of and how good he can be. So his goal wasn't only to win, but it was to prove just how good he was. That's kind of the game inside the game. Michael Jordan was another one, I mentioned him before, that was notorious for this. So if he's in practice, you know, he's a little bit beat up, he's tired, he's played 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row, you need that extra juice to get you going. You need to get fired up some way. So you have to invent these games in the game to prove something to help you to motivate your practice. So you pick a certain player and you try to get them to do things that maybe would be tough for them to do in the basketball scenario. Or if you're in the golf scenario, think back to times that you struggled in a tournament. Think back to things that maybe people that didn't believe in you had said about you, and you're gonna set out to prove them wrong. That's a competitive tournament type mindset. You're not gonna hear me talk a lot about that on this channel, but that's a big motivator for people. It's not saying that you have to be negative all the time, but it's finding those times when you're down, when you're not really fired up to go practice. You just remember, I remember that guy saying that I couldn't do this. I remember him saying that I could never shoot in the 70s or be a scratch golfer or win a tournament or do this or do that. That's that extra fuel you need when things get a little bit mundane to really drive you over the edge. Now again, that's different than having fun. It's not, those are two totally different things. If you want to have fun on the golf course, you probably shouldn't turn on those competitive juices, because it's going to be more frustration than anything. But I tell you what, it feels pretty daggone good when you actually do achieve those goals. You prove the people that had doubted you wrong, you win some tournaments, you do things that you didn't think you could do. That's the kind of long-lasting satisfaction that you can never really get just from going out having fun with your buddies playing some golf. So follow those tips. I think it's going to help you to win more tournaments, whether you're a high school player, whether you're a golfer in your 80s. You're going to win more tournaments if you have that mentality. The last thing I want to leave you with here is this. If you're waiting till the time to show up at the tournament, it's too late. Whatever you are is what you are. Whatever your practice has prepared you for is how you're going to play in the tournament. So if you're usually rolling the ball in the fairway and picking it up and not really taking things too serious, there's a good chance that you're probably going to choke in the tournament, or at least have tendencies of choking. If you prepare the right way though, and you put the pressure on and everything's a game inside the game, and you're really looking for ways to fire yourself up, chances are when the going gets tough in the tournament, you'll see all these other players start to fall out of the way when the pressure gets on, and you're going to rise to the top. Now here's the cool thing. No matter if you're the golfer that wants to have fun or the golfer that wants to win tournaments, the number one thing that will help you to outperform your competitors is being longer than them, having more club head speed than them, being able to drive it farther, hit shorter irons into the green. That opens up a world of possibilities to help you beat the pants off of all your competitors. Well, I'm playing a video here in a second. It's going to pop up on the screen here. Just go ahead and click it. It's a crazy, insane driver speed video. It's going to help you to crank those drivers out there 10, maybe 20, maybe even 30 yards farther. Let's go ahead and get started with that right now and drive those competitive juices.